Have you ever felt that, visceral, sweaty palm fear right before a massive software launch? You totally know the feeling. You and your team have spent months, literally months, building this huge new feature. And the second it goes live, you're just crossing your fingers, practically holding your breath, hoping it doesn't break the entire system for every single user all at once. It's a terrifying way to work. And honestly, it's exactly why modern software teams absolutely do not want to release features blindly anymore. We want control, we want safety.
So, let's get right into this explainer. Today, we're going to completely flip how you look at feature flags. We're moving way past seeing them as just simple, temporary if statements cluttered all over your code. Instead, we're going to look at them as what they really are: powerful, robust release control infrastructure. This is really about fundamentally transforming how your whole organization builds, tests, and actually delivers software to the world.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll start with the fear of software releases. Define what feature flags actually are, dive into rollouts and experiments, check out architecture and analytics guardrails, and finally wrap up with governance and technical debt. Let's jump in.
Section 1. The fear of software releases, and, specifically, the Big Bang risk.
Think about traditional software delivery for a second. Pushing a highly anticipated API or a slick new interface straight into production is, well, it's terrifying, because suddenly, under the crushing weight of real-world traffic, things can go terribly wrong. Bugs pop up, databases lock up, your support queue literally catches on fire. Which brings us to a really harsh reality. Without feature flags, releasing means exposing everyone at once. In that old-school setup, if a bug shows up, your only real move is to roll back the entire deployment. You have to revert the code, which is famously slow, super complicated, and incredibly risky. It just brings all your engineering momentum to a dead stop.
Now, the absolute most critical distinction in modern software delivery is separating deployment from release. Okay, deployment simply means the code is safely installed in your production environment. It's just sitting there. Release, on the other hand, means the feature is actually turned on and available to your users. When you separate these two concepts, it's a total game changer. You can deploy code right in the middle of normal working hours, and not a single user will see it until you are 100% ready.
Moving on to Section 2. What are feature flags? The control switch. At its absolute most fundamental level, a feature flag is just a conditional control switch sitting inside your application. It is your ultimate safety net. It lets your teams turn features on or off instantly, without ever having to redeploy a single line of code. If something breaks, you don't roll back the whole code base, you simply flip the switch to off. Crisis averted.
But, and this is a big but, it's vital to understand that not all flags are created equal. You've got release flags for gradual rollouts, experiment flags for A/B testing, operational flags acting as kill switches, permission flags for entitlement, migration flags for backend transitions, and configuration flags to control behavior. A super common, and honestly dangerous, mistake organizations make is treating all these flags the exact same way. I mean, a temporary release flag has a massively different lifecycle than a permanent permission flag, right?
Speaking of which, there is a massive difference between flags and permissions. A feature flag asks the system, hey, is this feature enabled in this environment? A permission, though, asks, is this specific user actually allowed to perform this action? So here's the crucial takeaway. Hiding a front-end button with a feature flag does not secure your back end. You still absolutely need robust, totally separate permissions for real security and authorization. Mixing these two up, yeah, that's a huge security risk.
Let's head to Section 3. Rollouts, canaries, and experiments. This is all about proactive safety. Let's imagine a fictional learning platform. We'll call it Uplatz. Say they want to launch a brand new AI tutor. Instead of a risky Big Bang release, they start with Step 1, turning it on exclusively for their internal team. Once that looks solid, they move to Step 2, enabling it for a small group of beta users. Then Step 3, rolling it out to just 10% of real production traffic. And finally, Step 4. A full 100% release. By walking through these steps, Uplatz massively minimizes the blast radius of any potential errors. Think about it. If a bug surfaces at that 10% mark, 90% of their users are completely unaffected. It's brilliant. And hey, flags aren't just for progressive safety, they're also for learning. Take A/B testing. We might have 90% of users experiencing variant A, say the old checkout flow, and a random 10% experiencing variant B, the new flow. That random assignment is key. It lets you reliably measure which variant actually drives more conversions. You're not just guessing in the dark anymore. You're literally using your live product as a laboratory to gather concrete, real-world behavioral data.
All right, Section 4, Architecture and Analytics Guardrails, or what we call structured safety. To pull off that level of experimentation safely, you need a highly structured data model. Every single flag needs metadata. What's the flag key? Is it a Boolean or a numeric type? What is the safety fault value? Who actually owns it? And crucially, when does it expire? Having a robust data model like this is exactly what prevents flags from turning into mysterious, undocumented ghosts that just haunt your codebase for years. Now, when you're running experiments, you can't just ask, did our conversion metric go up? You absolutely have to ask this one critical question. What did we damage? Asking this totally pivots your focus from just celebrating successful conversions to actively looking for the harmful side effects an experiment might be causing under the hood.
Here's exactly why we ask that. Let's say your fancy new AI feature boosts course enrollments by 15%. Fantastic, right? The product team is thrilled. But wait, look at the guardrail metrics. Server latency is up 40%, and your backend AI request costs have spiked by 60%. These metrics act as actual guardrails on a winding mountain road. They protect you from situations where user engagement goes up, but your backend server costs literally bankrupt the company.
So, what do you do when those guardrails show a massive cost spike, or maybe a third-party AI provider starts timing out? You use an operational flag as a kill switch. Instantly turning off those AI requests gracefully degrades the app, letting users still browse manually without bringing down the whole system. Let this sink in for a second. A kill switch is not failure. It is controlled resilience. It's basically your ultimate operational safety tool.
Let's wrap things up with Section 5, Governance and Technical Debt. Basically, managing the chaos.
When you're managing all these flags across a growing engineering org, there are 10 extremely common mistakes teams make. We're talking things like having zero audit logs, meaning nobody knows who changed what in production, or a total lack of flag ownership, or relying entirely on front-end flags for security, which any user can easily bypass. Without governance, and by that I mean role-based access, approval workflows, and strict audits, unmanaged flags will just create absolute chaos in your system.
To combat that chaos, we really need an ideal lifecycle. Think of a canary rollout like the old canary in a coal mine, an early warning system. On day 1, the code is deployed, but the flag is off. By day 3, a 10% canary rollout begins. By week 2, you hit your 100% release. But here's the absolute most important part. By month 1, the flag and the old dead code are entirely cleaned up and removed from the codebase. Temporary flags should accelerate your delivery, right? They shouldn't permanently clutter your codebase with endless conditional statements.
This needs to be a golden rule for your engineering teams. A feature is not truly done until old flags and dead code are removed. Period. Flag cleanup is not some optional, nice-to-have refactoring task you save for a rainy day. It is a mandatory, non-negotiable part of the feature delivery lifecycle. Which leaves us with this final thought to really reflect on. Take a hard look at your own current setup. Are your feature flags functioning as robust, heavily governed release control infrastructure? Or are they just temporary if statements that are slowly creating permanent chaos in your codebase? Because that choice dictates the speed, the safety, and the ultimate success of your software delivery. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope it gave you the tools you need to build with absolute confidence.